So yesterday we started this subject, that is Manvantara Anucharitam, which is a description of all the Manus. So yesterday we had the class in the temple. So I guess there was some audio problem. So I would like to just revise a little bit. So we discussed that there are 4 yugas, that is Satyuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Kali Yuga, and we also discussed the duration of each yuga and the lifespan in each yuga, the yuga avatars, the avatars which is the specific for the yuga, and yuga avatar is actually the one who propagates the yuga dharma also, right? So we discussed that for the Satyuga, the yuga avatar was Lord Kapila. Treta Yuga avatar was Lord Yagna. For Dwapara Yuga avatar was Lord Krishna, and for Kali Yuga the yuga avatar is Lord Chaitanya. And also we discussed the recommended methods for achieving perfection of life for the Satyuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Kali Yuga, and we saw that in Kali Yuga, Sankirtan is the recommended process. Why Sankirtan is the recommended process? Sankirtan is chanting of the holy names of the Lord. Okay, and it's not just chanting, it is actually congregational chanting of the holy names of the Lord. So why this is prescribed in this Kali Yuga is because in this Kali Yuga people don't have qualifications to do the other prescribed processes of the previous yugas. It is very difficult for them to do. Say just imagine, in Satyuga people used to go to the forest and they used to sit in the forest for many thousands of years without eating anything, without drinking anything, just meditating on Vishnu in the heart. So is that possible for Kali Yuga? Not possible. Nowadays we don't have forests proper. We don't have forests everywhere. Trees are being cut, and there is massive construction of all these concrete buildings, and there's no peaceful place. Even if you go to a forest, there is no peaceful place. You will still keep hearing aeroplane sounds. You'll keep hearing helicopter sounds. So many sounds like that. Yeah, and even if you go, we don't have the capacity. The bodies of Kali Yuga. It is described the characteristics of Kali Yuga is Manda Sumanda Matyo Manda Bhagya Hi Upadrata. So they are very dumb and dull. They are less. They don't have that much intelligence. They just forget whatever is being told. Previously, the people of the previous yugas, they were called as Shrutidars. So at once, if they hear the Shastra, they can remember it throughout their life. Okay. But in Kali Yuga, it is not possible. We may be hearing a Bhagavatam class now, and just within 1 hour or so, we can forget everything, whatever we have heard. So we have poor memories. Yeah? And for that reason, actually, Vedavyasa has written all these Shastras. Ganesh and Lord Ganesh and Vedavyasa. They have written just before the Kali Yuga, because they knew that people in Kali Yuga, they can't just hear and remember. So they need scriptures. So they actually written. Previous to that, it was not there. No written form was there. Everything was Shabda. The Guru used to pass to the disciple, and like that. And they used to just remember throughout the life. Right? So that is not possible. And the ritualistic sacrifices is definitely not possible. Why? Because for doing yajnas and all, you need very, very pure substances. Like nowadays, do you get pure ghee anywhere? You don't get, right? And not just that, you need brahmanas who are very, very pure actually, who can just chant the mantra, and with just their mantra, the yajna fire should be little. That is not possible. We don't have pure brahmanas. That is a characteristic of Kali Yuga. The brahmanas have fallen down. They don't practice their standards properly. So that is not possible. Ritualistic sacrifices and temple worship, very, very difficult, because Kali Yuga people are very unclean. Yeah, there is no cleanliness. We discussed yesterday cleanliness, austerity, truthfulness, compassion. These are the 4 pillars of dharma. Wherever there is truthfulness, where there is austerity, there is compassion for all living entities, and cleanliness. So wherever there is there dharma will be there. But in Kali Yuga, all these 4 are destroyed, right? They are not there, practically zero. At least now, because it's just beginning of Kali Yuga, there's just little bit of truthfulness, austerity, and all. But in future, it's going to be really worse. That is why we should not waste our time. We should not before we enter into the future Kali Yuga, we should try to go back to Godhead in this lifetime only. Because if you take another lifetime, that Kali Yuga will be really worse. Okay, so you can't bear the Kali Yuga, the sinful activities of the people. You will not get even proper food, proper air. There will be a lot of pollution. Yeah. So Sankirtan is preferred because Sankirtan is very, very simple. It is just chanting of the holy names of the Lord. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his Sikshashtakam, he says that Nam Akari Bahuda Nida Sarva Saktis Tatra Alpita Niyamita Smaranena Kalaha. So there is no specific time or place and rules. There are no hard and fast rules for chanting Hare Krishna, right? But the benefit of the chanting Hare Krishna is, immeasurable. It's unlimited. That's what Lord Chaitanya is saying. Nam Akari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktis. Krishna has put all his Shaktis, all his energies in the chanting of the holy names. Like we chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So all the power is there in the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. If we just chant that, and especially in the association of devotees together, that's really powerful, and that attracts the mercy of the Lord, which is very easily possible. Even a child can do it. Even an intelligent person can do it. An intelligent person can do it. A learned person can do it. Anyone can do it. So that is very simple. So because we don't have much qualification, we can't live for long life. We can't do all other processes. So God has given very simplified process for the people of Kali Yuga. So this is roughly what we saw. So we said that this is a Chatur Yuga, or it's also called as a Divya Yuga, or it's also called as a Yuga cycle. Okay. So we also saw this, that how this Chatur Yuga or Divya Yuga. So like that, there thousands of such Yuga cycles actually form one day of Brahma, and one night of Brahma is also equivalent of that. Yeah, but in the night of Brahma, there is only pralaya, there is only destruction, right? There is no working of the universe, there is no management happening because Brahma is sleeping. No other demigods also exist. So in the day only everything happens. And also we saw that in the day of Brahma also there are 14 Manus. We saw, you can see over here, the 71 Divya Yugas, 71 Divya Yugas, like that. In the second line, there are like 14 Divya Yugas, and each one is actually the time of one Manu. Manu, we discussed that he is the leader of mankind, and from him a lot of other human beings and all different kinds of people actually come from him. They are not exactly the Prajapatis. Prajapatis are the progenitors. They're different, but he is the leader of the mankind. Not just mankind, even for the demigods also he is the leader. Okay, so we can see, and like that is one day of Brahma, right? 1000 Yuga cycles, and equivalent is a night, that is with 24 hours, that is one full day. Like that he lives for 360 days, which is 1 year, into 100 years. So that's why you can see over here on the top, one Mahakalpa. Mahakalpa is the lifespan of Brahma. So you can see what is the lifespan of Brahma. 311 trillion years. Okay, so it's like 311 trillion. I guess this is 40 billion. Okay, 40 million or billion, yeah. So 311 trillion years. Yeah, and what is that? That much lifespan is just one breath of Mahavishnu. So Mahavishnu is also called as Karunadakshay Vishnu, who is lying in the Karana ocean, or the Viraja river. Both are the same, which is separating the material world and the spiritual world. So he's lying over there, and from his bodily spores, which are sweat pores, normally from our sweat pores we get sweat. So, but when he is breathing in and breathing out from his sweat pores, millions and billions of the universes are coming. So when he exhales, all so many billions of universes are coming, and when he again inhales, all the universes are going into his body. So that span of time when the universe is being breathed out by Mahavishnu and breathed in by Mahavishnu, in that time, Brahma's lifespan is there. That is 311 trillion years. And in that time, again in his day, night, we have so many Manus, and his Manus, there are so many yugas. Just see how complex is this universe. I mean, it is not so difficult to understand, but how big is this universe? So normally our scientists, they are just stuck up in exploring the solar system itself. That's it. They have not even crossed Mars. I mean, even to Mars, they did not send any human being as of now, right? Yeah, and they just send some machines and they just go and explore some things over there. That's it. Okay, they say that man has gone to moon, even if it's true or not true, whatever. But there's so much to explore. They see the time span, and they say that the origin of the universe is just some million of years ago or something like that. But origin of the universe is much big, actually. It is not just a few thousands or millions of years. It is trillions. Brahma himself is living for trillions of years. Yeah, that is actually the origin of the universe, the time span of the universe, right? But it's very complex, and Shastras are all giving this information, and we have to accept this because in our limited time and limited scope of view and perception, we can't go to each nook and corner of the universe. We can't see all these things. We are just limited by our dimensions of view. We can just see three-dimensional things. That's it. But universe exists in a much higher dimensions, and all these things show this, right? Yeah. So, and we also discussed that we are in the 51st year of Brahma, in the first day of Brahma. In that one day of Brahma, we are in the 7th Manvantara, right? Yeah, in the 7th Manvantara, we are in the 28th Chaturyuga. In that 28th Chaturyuga, we are in the Kali Yuga. And in that Kali Yuga, we already passed 5,000 years, right? Okay, so let's resume with the Bhagavatam discussion. So yesterday we left off with this verse, right? Navamo Daksha Savarnir Manur Varuna Sambhava Bhutaketur Deeptaketur Iti Adyastat Sutanrupa. So yesterday there was description about the 8th Manu, right? And this is the 9th Manu description. O king, the 9th Manu will be Daksha Savarni, who is born of Varuna. Among his sons will be Bhutaketu and Deeptaketu. So yesterday some devotee was asking me this question, that in the 8th Manvantara, the 7 sages are there. In that there is mentioning of Ashwadhama and Kripacharya. So actually that is true. They are the present Ashwadhama and this thing, Ashwadhama and Kripacharya. And actually it was already mentioned in the verse there. It was mentioned that they're all residing in the present ashramas. So it was already mentioned. So I had to verify it. I verified it. So they are the same people. And also another question was asked about Yamuna Devi, who is actually sister of Yamaraj. So there was mentioning about the sister, children of the wife of, children of sun god. So there Yama and Yami are there. So that Yami is actually Yamuna Devi. So I have to verify it before I confirm. Okay. Hare Krishna. Paramarichi Garbhadya Deva Indro Adbhuta Smrita Dhutimat Pramukhastatra Bhavishyanti Rishayastata. In this ninth manvantara, the Paras and Marichigarbhas will be among the demigods. The king of heaven, Indra, will be named Adbhuta, and Dutiman will be among the seven sages. Right? Rishabhadeva Ayushmato Ambudharayam Rishabho Bhagavat Kala Bhavita Yena Samradham Trilokim Bhokshate Adbhuta. Rishabhadeva, a partial incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, will take birth from his father Ayushman and his mother Ambudhara. He will enable the Indra named Adbhuta to enjoy the opulence of the three worlds. So this Rishabhadeva is actually an incarnation of the Supreme Lord, and the teachings of Rishabhadeva are very, very famous in the Bhagavatam. This comes in the 5th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, who is actually incarnation of the Supreme Lord. So here at this verse, I wanted like a little deviation, because all of you have only joined from the 7th canto and you don't know what's there in the 5th canto. Just a brief discussion of very few very important teachings of Lord Rishabhadeva. Okay, so I would like to discuss them today. Yeah, so this is from Srimad Bhagavatam 5.5.1. Rishabhadeva teaching the Bhagavata philosophy, teachings of Bhagavatam, to his sons. Okay, so he had 100 sons, and his first son was Bharat Maharaj. So that Bharat Maharaj is the one from whom this whole Varsha, this whole our earth, it's called as Bharata Varsha. It's because of him. He's a very, very great devotee, and in the 5th canto, we also get to hear about Bharat Maharaj, how he was such a great devotee and he left everything and he went to the forest. And we also hear about the deer, he falling down from a spiritual path because of the deer, and then he takes birth as Jadabharat. So it's the same Bharat Maharaj, who is the son of Rishabhadeva, and Rishabhadeva has 100 sons. And in his 100 sons, 9 of his 100 sons, first 10 after Bharat Maharaj, 9 of them, they all became mendicants, and other all became great kings. So very, very important character, and he's actually incarnation, Shakti Avesha, incarnation of the Supreme Lord, Lord Krishna. So let us hear his teachings. They're very, very valuable. I thought I'll take a few minutes to discuss this teaching. Nayam deho deha bhajam riloke kashtan kamanarhate vidbhujame tapodevyam putrakayena sattvam shuddhyedasmad brahma saukyam tvanantam. I'd like to again recite this again. Nayam deho deha bhajam riloke kashtan kamanarhate vidbhujame tapodevyam putrakayena sattvam shuddhyedasmad brahma saukyam tvanantam. The Lord Rishabhadeva told his sons, my dear boys, of all the living entities who have accepted material bodies in this world, one who has been awarded this human form should not work hard day and night simply for sense gratification, which is available even for dogs and hawks that eat stool. Vidbhujamye, vid is stool, who eats stool, hawks and dogs. One should engage in penance and austerity to attain the divine position of devotional service. By such activity, one's heart is purified, and when one attains this position, he attains eternal blissful life, which is transcendental to material happiness and which continues forever. Okay. So, Rishabhadeva is speaking to his son, saying that human form of life, in human form is not meant for sense gratification. That is what he's saying. One who has been awarded this human form of life should not work hard day and night simply for sense gratification. Okay, he is not saying that you should not work, because ultimately you have to work. Because if you work, only you will get money, and with that money only you will get food. So unless you have food and you maintain your health, you cannot practice devotional service. But what Rishabhdeva is saying is that we should not just simply work for sense gratification. So people work a lot, earning a lot of money, huge money, right? And then you earn lakhs and lakhs of rupees, and just finally we spend it for some sense gratification. Okay, but the nature of this sense gratification in this world, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, he says that Adi Antam Anta Kaunteya Nateshu Ramate Buddha. He says that sense gratification has a beginning and an end, and some of them have end very quickly. Suppose we eat some gulab jamun or some pizza, something like that, right? Some fast food, whatever. Yeah, people like different things, burgers and so many things like that, or drink some coke. How much time does that sense gratification last? The sense gratification lasts only for the time being. That particular, suppose you drink some coke or whatever, it just stays on the tongue for just few seconds. That's it. Till that time only you'll have pleasure. After going into the body, do you have any pleasure? No, you don't have any pleasure. Sense gratification doesn't last for much long time. It lasts for very less time. And suppose like someone purchases a very fancy laptop, suppose like Apple laptop or iPhone or whatever. They're spending, practically lakhs and lakhs of rupees, which he must have earned in like 3-4 months of salary, whatever, right? And he purchases that. And how long does the happiness from that object last? Just for a few days or maybe a month. That's it. After that, you start seeing that the laptop gets crashed, and it gets stuck, and you start getting scratches, and it starts getting dusty. The newness, the shine goes. That's it. And no more you start feeling so much wonderful about it, and you start feeling so many problems. And then again there is another one newly coming. So another model with improved features. I just feel, oh, my laptop is waste now. That is more nice. So you're no more satisfied, and the happiness is lost. It doesn't end much. So this material happiness, it has a beginning and an end, and it just lasts only for a few, very little time. And for that, we are working very hard. So Rishabhdeva is saying here that we should not simply work for sense gratification. So because that sense gratification is available even for hawks and dogs, right? They're enjoying much better than us actually. And eating, sleeping, mating, defending. These are the common things. Ahar, nidra, bhayamaitunamcha, samanyamaitat pashubir naranam. These are the common things between animals and human beings, right? And in many ways, the animals are enjoying much better than us. They like, suppose if you compare us to an elephant, if I ask you a question, how many gulab jamuns you can eat? You can just eat at max 10. Even after that, you can't eat. What about an elephant? Elephant can eat a whole bucket of gulab jamun just like that. They can enjoy much better than us, actually. And in many ways like that. So many ways. Like sleeping, how many hours you can sleep? You can just sleep for 10 hours, maybe maximum 12 hours. After that, your spinal cord starts aching. But take example of a polar bear. It can sleep for 6 months at once, right? So in many ways, animals are enjoying much better than us. Even if you take sex life, hawks and dogs, they can have sex life even on street. They don't have any restrictions, right? It is said a pigeon, it can have sex like 12 times a day. You just see, they're enjoying much better than us. So what the point over here is, we are not meant for, the human form of life is not meant for sense gratification. Okay, So what one should do then? He's also saying that. He's saying that one should engage in penance and austerity. Tapo divyam putra kayena sattvam. So one should engage in tapa. Tapa means austerity, like all of you are doing. You're all getting up in the morning, hearing Bhagavatam class, you're chanting Hare Krishna. This is tapasya, simple tapasya. And what is the tapasya? Also we discussed this now. Sankirtan, that is chanting of the holy names, right? Simple austerity. For what? To attain devotion, divine position of the tapo divyam putrakayena sattvam, right? To attain the position of devotional service. By such activity, shuddhed asman brahma saukyam anantam. So what does one get? Yeah, you will get much more happiness. What is that? Eternal happiness. Not this material happiness, which is very temporary. Very, very temporary. And there is always disturbance to our enjoyment. Yeah, suppose like someone builds a very wonderful house, very, very beautiful, wonderful house, and he stays there. But there is always some disturbance. Suppose you might have water shortage. Like when I was staying in Chennai, for the whole summer there is tremendous water shortage. You might be staying in marble house, duplex house, and you might be having very good interiors, whatever. But you don't have. Suppose you don't get basic water. You don't get water to bathe, and you have to purchase it, and there is so much of demand for it. You see, there's always some disturbance for our enjoyment. Yeah, and that is what is being said here. So eternal, but what is spiritual happiness? Spiritual happiness is eternal and it is very, very blissful. Brahma Saukhyam, but Saukhyam is not material Saukhyam, it is Brahma Saukhyam, and it is Anantam, it is ending, it is not having Antam, it is Anantam, it is ending. Yeah, and Shuddhi Isman Brahma Saukhyam, and it is very purifying. It will actually purify our heart. That is what we discussed in Shikshashtakam. The first verse it says, Cheto Darpanam Arjanam Mahadavagni Nirvapanam. So it says Cheto Darpanam. Our heart is very impure because from time immemorial we were all in this material world, and we have imbibed so many material desires and which are haunting us, and we're struggling very hard to satisfy those material desires, and we're struggling a lot, right? And our heart is filled with so many anarthas: lust, anger, greed, pride, illusion, envy. Our heart has to be purified, and then we can actually experience the eternal blissful life, which is already it's the nature of your soul, which is Satchidananda. So we understand that the nature of the soul is Satchit Ananda. So Ananda is actually a property of the soul, which is already there by nature. But because it's being covered by so many anarthas, which are dirty, dirty covering of the soul, so because of which we are not able to experience that eternal blissful life. But by doing devotional service, in this human form of life, we can purify our heart and we can experience that eternal blissful life. That is very wonderful teaching which Lord Rishabhadev is teaching. He's saying, not simply work hard day and night for sense gratification. So this is the highlight point. I mean, the line which is to be highlighted in this verse. Should not work hard day and night simply for sense gratification. So you can have sense gratification. It's not that we are not supposed to have. We eat for sense gratification. Especially if you come for a festivals. Especially Jagannath Rath Yatra, we had offered so many items for Jagannath, right? And what do devotees do after offering to Jagannath? We only take, right? So are we not doing sense gratification? Yeah, we are doing. Yes, but that is allowed. Some sense gratification to maintain the body is always allowed. But our life is not just meant for sense gratification, right? Little sense gratification which is necessary for sustaining your body, that is fine. And devotional service, if you do, then the perfection of life is achieved. Okay. This is another wonderful sloka, which is 5.5.2, which is very wonderful one, very deep meaning. महत्सेवां द्वारमाहुर्विमुक्ते तमोद्वारं योषितं संगि संगम महान्तस्ते समचित्त प्रशांता विमन्यवा सुहृद साधवो ये महत्सेवां द्वारमाहुर्विमुक्ते तमोद्वारं योषितं संगि संगम. Very important line. The translation is, one can attain the path of liberation from material bondage only by rendering service to highly advanced spiritual personalities. These personalities are impulseless and devotees. Whether one wants to merge into the Lord's existence or wants to associate with the personality of Godhead, one should render service to the Mahatmas. For those who are not interested in such activities, who associate with people fond of women and sex, the path to hell is wide open. The Mahatmas are equipoised. They do not see any difference between one living entity and another. They are very peaceful and are fully engaged in devotional service. They are devoid of anger and they work for the benefit of everyone. They do not behave in any abominable way. Such people are known as Mahatmas. So Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakritim ashitaha. So he says that who are these Mahatmas? They have taken shelter of the Daivi Prakriti. Okay, so there are two Prakritis. So, which is the Prakriti of the material world and Prakriti of the spiritual world. In simple terms, it is Yoga Maya and Mahamaya. Okay, so we are all in this material world, right? And the predominating deity of this material world is actually the in charge of this material world is Durga. Okay, so who is Durga? Mahakali. Okay, Kali, and she is called as Mahamaya. So one who is putting us in illusion. Okay, she is making us think that we are this material bodies, and you are such and such person, you are such and such, you are working in such and such company, you are like this, you are like that, and she is giving us a false illusion, and she's giving us illusion that you can enjoy this, you can enjoy that, and suppose you fail, you tried enjoying something and you fail, and she says, no, if not this, there is that, you enjoy that, you'll be very wonderful, it'll be very wonderful. No, if not that, you enjoy this. She continuously keeps us in illusion, and she's torturing us with the kleshas. Okay, what are these kleshas? Adhyatmika, Adibhautika, and Adidaivika klesha. So the problems due to your body and mind, right? Adhyatmika, which is like we get a lot of diseases, right? Troubles due to our body. You might have backache, headache, stomach problem, or a heart problem, or diabetes, and so many problems like that. The body is continuously giving us one challenge after another, right? So right from birth to death. Yeah, and then Adi Bhautika, because of other living entities, there are troubles. And Adi Daivika, which is beyond our capacity. We have floods, we have tsunamis, we have coronavirus, this is beyond our capacity. Recently China, there were like tremendous floods. Who imagined? Who imagined those floods? Right? Practically people, even in suburban trains, they're all just immersed. That's it. So this is Adi Daivika. So this is continuously torturing us. Okay. So we are under Mahamaya. But who are these Mahatmas? They are not under Mahamaya. They are under Yoga Maya. Yoga Maya is the personal direct energy of the Lord. They are under special protection of the Lord. So they might be in this material world. Okay. They might be in this material world, but they are not influenced by the modes of material nature. They are not influenced by Mahamaya. They are under the protection of the Lord. They are actually the pure devotees of the Lord. Okay. So how do we get out of this material world? So we were discussing in the first verse that life is not meant for sense gratification. It is for a you know, for getting devotional service. We have to get out of this mental world, right? Then how to do that? How can one attain liberation? By serving great souls. By serving the great souls or the devotees of the Lord. All devotees are great. And even among devotees, there are pure devotees who are very, very great. Okay. The acharyas, by serving them, we can actually get their mercy. And by that, we can, that opens the doors for liberation. Mahat Sevam, by serving the great souls. Dwara Mahur Vimuktes, Vimukta, door to liberation, the path to liberation is open. But if you do Sangi Sangam, Tamo Dwara Myoshita Sangi Sangam, but if you associate with those who are fond of women, which is actually practically everyone in this world, right? Because the Maya Devi, she is trapping everyone in this world by this principle of sex, attraction to opposite sex, right? Yeah. Why does a man work so hard to attract women? And same, vice versa. For man, woman is woman, and for woman, man is woman. That is what Shastras say, right? If there is no attraction to opposite sex, one great devotee I heard in one lecture, he said that if there is no attraction to opposite sex, all men would have gone to Himalayas and they would have meditated on Supreme Lord and they would have done devotional service. But actually, why they're not doing? Because they want to impress the opposite sex. Same way, man for woman, woman to man. They're not fault finding with woman. For woman also want to attract man. Man also wants to attract woman. That's a principle, and that is very evident. I can see that, and it's very difficult to come out of this, shackles. They're practically binding everyone. Very, very difficult to come. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Mamevaya prapadyante maya metandrantse. Mama Maya Durat, Daivihi Esha Gunamayi. He says, Mama Maya Duratya. My Maya is very difficult to overcome. Very, very difficult to overcome. Mama Maya Duratya, Mam Evaya Prapadyante. Whoever surrenders to me, Mam Evaya Prapadyante, Maya Metam Durante. He'll be able to come out of this material world. But how to surrender to Krishna? How to surrender to the Lord? Where is God? We can't see him. So that is what he's saying over here. By serving the great personalities, because these Mahatmas are pure devotees, they can see Krishna. You might not be able to see Krishna. They are confidential associates of the Lord. They are under his direct protection. Correct? So when we serve them, we get also access into the spiritual realm. So that is why in the Shastra we say we need a guru. So that's why we get up in the morning. Every day we sing Samsara Dava Naralila Loka Pranaya Karunya Ganaganatham. Vande Guru Sri Charnaravindam. We say. So Guru, that's why we say Guru is required. Spiritual master is required. Who is a spiritual master? Is not an ordinary person. It is said over here. What is this? They are very peaceful and they are fully engaged in devotional service. They are 24/7 engaged in service of the Lord. They don't have any other material desires. All they want is just service to the Lord. So such great personalities we have to find. Where are they? And we have to take instructions from them. We have to follow their instructions and we have to serve them. How do we serve them? By following their instructions. We might not always personally get the Great Souls Association. It's very difficult. But by serving their instructions, we are serving them. Okay, that is Vani Seva. Vapu Seva, we might not get it. Serve all these great souls. Sometimes we might get very, very fortunate. But more important than that is actually because the great souls are existing in this material world for our sake. Yeah, they don't have any other interest. Everyone has interest to personal interest. Their only interest is to deliver all of us. Because their primary nature is compassion. They feel very compassion for us. So that is why they come in this material world to deliver us. Yeah, and their main, the means how they deliver us is Shruti, by hearing, right? We have to hear from them because they are actually instruments of the Lord. They are representatives of the Lord. They are via media for us by whom we can actually attain the lotus feet of the Lord, right? So we have to find such people. We have to find such devotees, and we have to hear from them. We have to take instructions from them and apply in our life. And serving them, we actually serve the Supreme Lord. So that's what Krishna says once to Narada. He says that one who says that he is my devotee is not my devotee. One who is actually a devotee of my devotee is actually my devotee. So that is why Krishna sends us representatives. Otherwise, there is no possibility for us to do devotional service. It's very difficult. You see the whole Bhagavatam. Everywhere there is a need of a guide. A spiritual master is required, and there are the Mahatmas. And by serving them, we go up. And if we take association of worldly people, worldly minded people whose mind is just after attraction for opposite sex, and we serve them, we associate with them, and then where are we going? Tamo Dwaram. We are just going down. Okay. So I guess we can stop over here. It's already 6:30, close to 6:30. If we can elaborate. There are two more which I wanted to discuss. Maybe we can discuss it tomorrow. We can go for questions.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
This Prabhuji, you are shown in the chart means this Brahma's lifespan 311.040.
Yeah.
And India Brahma has 4.32 billion years. So means that will come, I think, 36,000 years, or that is called, I think, Kalpa, 36,000 Kalpa.
No. One day of Brahma has 1,000 kalpas. Okay. And one day of Brahma has 1,000 years. Okay. And like that, he has 360 days, which will be 1 year. Okay. And into 100, which will be 100 years. So that is how it will be 360,000 years. Okay, 360,000 years. 360,000 days. Okay, 360,000 days. 1 day is kalpa. 360,000 days. So 1 day is called as a kalpa, and that 360,000 days is called as mahakalpa. So Mataji has typed, as you're bound to some duties, how to overcome the material desires, or what you were saying about the attraction to opposite sex. Attraction to opposite sex. But since women are to be protected by men only, what is the other way we can overcome it and become Krishna conscious? So I guess there are like two questions in this. So material desires, how do we overcome? By cultivating spiritual desires. Okay. So heart has to be purified. It is not so easy to overcome our mental desires in just one shot. Why? Because these desires are from so many millions of lifetimes being inculcated in our heart. So it's not possible at once to go. But that's what. But we do by doing devotional service. Gradually, the person heart gets purified. So gradually, the mental desires will decrease. So how do we do that? We don't have to do a special endeavor. Okay, just by doing bhakti, the activities of bhakti, which is like chanting Hare Krishna, hearing Bhagavatam, taking prasadam, offering the food to the Lord and getting the purified food. Okay, because actually primarily the desires are cultivated through food. This is there in the Bhagavad Gita. It comes in the section of the three modes. There are different kinds of modes of food. Food in the different kinds of modes. Okay, food in mode of goodness, passion, ignorance. So food is a place where we can easily regulate. We must regulate because so you can clearly actually see the consciousness. Suppose you go and eat somewhere outside where it's very unclean and the person who is cooking is very unclean, right? And stale food or whatever, you can see immediately your consciousness becomes very dull, tamoguna, right? And suppose you eat very spicy food and hot food and food in the form of rajoguna, then your mind goes towards mode of passion. So we have to eat food in sattva-guna, okay, which is actually vegetarian diet, yeah, and that vegetarian diet also has to be offered to the Lord. It has to be purified, and then when we take the prasad, remnants of the Lord, then heart becomes purified. So it is said, tongue, belly, genitals, they're all in the same line. So if you control the tongue can be controlled by two things. That is, one by food, which is eating prasad. Another one is by japa, chanting. Okay. In both ways, the tongue can be controlled. And speaking only which is useful and speaking which is not useful. Like that. There are many things like that. So that is one way to very easily control, and which is very practically possible to do by offering the food to the Lord and taking it and chanting Hare Krishna. Right? And you were also asking that attraction to opposite sex, since women are to be protected only, what is other way we can overcome it? Yeah, women have to be protected. So what is marriage life is perfect. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, kamosmi. He says, dharma viruddha bhuteshu kamosmi bharatarshava. He says the attraction, between man and woman in a religious way, according to dharma, that is through through the marriage samskara. That is Krishna says, I am that actually. So that is yajna.
Acceptable.
That is acceptable. That is authoritative. But what is not good is illicit sex or attraction to other women. So that's what the Shastra Chanakya Niti also says, Matravat Paradhareshu. So one has to see any other woman other than one's own wife as mother. Matravat Paradhareshu. That is said. So that is also said in Shastras also, in the Bhagavatam also. Right? So that much is allowed with wife. But even there also a person can break the attraction by getting attracted to the Lord. Okay, we have to understand that who is more beautiful? Krishna is more beautiful, right? So religious way attraction till there is allowed, licensed by the Shastras, but illicit sex is not. That is having going beyond the rules and regulations of the Shastra, beyond the marriage, that is not correct. So I guess Mataji, Kiranmai Mataji, I guess both questions are answered.
Yes, Prabhuji, I also asked, as we are bound to some attachments, which is actually our duty, which becomes our duty, because we are in the material world. So automatically there will be some material desires.
Exactly.
To maintain in the society.
Exactly.
So,
definitely. We also have duties to this world. We can't say, suppose you have children, and you say, my children are all Maya, my wife is all Maya, and that is not practically possible. You can't live in this world. I only get attracted to Krishna. We can't be fanatic like that. We have both vertical duties and horizontal duties. So what Rishabhadev is talking here is about our vertical duty. So vertical duty is duty towards the Supreme Lord, duty towards our our eternal dharma, that is Sanatana Dharma. So that is very important. Why? Because we can't just be caught up in our material duties, which are horizontal duties, duty towards your parents, duty towards your children or your office and boss and whatever it is. There are horizontal duties. That is perfect. They have to be done. But one can't just say life is all meant only for horizontal duties. No, because those duties are even being done by animals. Even a cat, you see, it fetches food and gives to the kittens. You see birds also take care of their children. They also do their material duties. It's not that they don't do. They also train their children how to fly, how to catch prey, and whatever it is. Yeah, they also do it. So if we just think that life is only meant for doing our material duties, then that's wrong. We are under illusion. That's not right. Life has to be balanced. So we can't ignore our vertical duties. That is our spiritual life. We can't neglect that. We have to do that, and also at the same time balance our material duties. That's how it is. Because if you don't balance your mental duties properly, they will cause a lot of disturbance to you, right? Suppose you have your wife and you just quarrel with your wife, and your wife doesn't cook for you. So then how? Yeah. Do you get prasad? Can you chant Hare Krishna? No. I just give a simple example. So we have to balance everything, but we can't neglect our spiritual duties. That is very important, especially in this human form, and it can be balanced, especially if we get up in the morning. Most of the devotional activities we do in the morning itself. So we just have to regulate our sleep. We just get up in the morning, we can do our chanting, we can hear the Bhagavatam, and the whole day we can be in that consciousness, right? And the whole day you can do your studies or activities and duties, etc., office. So many things we can do. Again, get up in the morning and again revive your consciousness. That's it. Simple.
Husband is saying from 1 week to Vijay, it seems that I'm going mad, like attending classes, always listening to lectures and all. Even he says, even I'm a pujari, if I listen to mantras for half a day, I go mad. How you are able to continue? How you are listening to so many classes, so many lectures? You will go mad, it seems.
No, because you got a higher taste. Otherwise, you can't do it every day. Suppose I'll tell you, if you suppose you take your most favorite movie, whatever it is, I'll ask you how many times you can watch it. Every day you can watch it. You can't watch it. Because that is material happiness. That material happiness doesn't satisfy the soul. But because this is actually spiritual happiness, which you are getting, you're chanting the same mantra every day. Same mantra, right? Is there any change? It's the same Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. You're chanting every day, and you don't feel tired of chanting. And you can continue like this throughout your life. There are some devotees in ISKCON who have been chanting from 50 years, 60 years. How are they doing it? Because that is actually satisfying the soul. It's just a matter of time to get used to it. But once you're just getting used to it, that's it. You will not stop.
He's just arguing with me, Prabhuji. Don't get up in the morning. Don't attend so many classes. You will go mad.
No, we don't go mad. We don't go mad. Actually, everyone is mad in this world.
Thank you,
So
Prabhuji.
we are only mad after Krishna. That's it. one great devotee said like this: the goal of life is to become mad. He said, but mad after Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Dhanavad, Pranav.
Hare Krishna. We'll end over here. I think it's getting late. Thank you very much. We'll continue tomorrow.